So I have thrown a lot of new things at you, especially if you're new to React. If you're new to coding, then it's perfectly fine to look at code like this with a hello world and kind of just be looking at it like what's going on exactly here? What are all these terms, these divs, the syntax of how things are being written out, especially if you don't have any prior background in web development. So I want to make this styling video for those of you who have no background for those of you who are just starting in web development and haven't done any style, because in the front end section, as we're going to see, I will be styling here and there, throwing in Bootstrap, throwing in styles of CSS in our React with JSX. And if you're not familiar with any of these things, it can seem so. This video is really just for those of you who don't have that prior web experience and you want to learn more about how styling works in websites. And if you already have that experience, then just feel free to skip on to the next video. Okay, so in the last video, we actually created our hello world, right? We imported React. In order to do that, we made an app component. We made an app component called app, and then we introduced the render and a return. And when we return in our render, this is the render in our React will render to the web page. That's what this is going to do. And then we return something. So we create these divs. And the divs essentially are containers that allows us to write containers that allows us to put our HTML and our CSS and our styling so that we can get a visual display. And inside these containers, we can actually add styles. Now we're adding styles text. So we're adding the style text center, right? We add the style text center by using class name. So if I remove the text center, okay, then we know text center and we save, we see that our hello world no longer is centered, right? And that should make sense. And where does this text center come from? Well, it comes from Bootstrap, and we're going to see how that works a little bit later on. Well, the point of this video is just, the point of this video is just to define these terms a bit more concretely. So what is actually CSS? CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. And we use it in order to style our HTML. Now, HTML is the most common markup language to build websites. And when we want to add text, when we want to add forms and tables, we use HTML to do this. Okay, that's what HTML is for. CSS adds the style, right? Here, I'll even comment this. I'll comment this in here so that you have some notes. HTML is the markup language for writing basic text and website. Okay. And whereas CSS styles the website. Okay. So colors, fonts, sizes, all of that stuff. Okay. And then JavaScript allows the websites to be dynamic, right? So JavaScript gives life to the websites, all right? So, you can bring in a button with HTML, but how do you actually make that button open up another page or do something specific? How do you make that button actually launch a timer or do something specific? Well, you can do that with JavaScript, okay? So HTML is going to set down, it's the markup language, CSS styles the website, and then JavaScript allows the website to be dynamic. Now, when we use React, it's not so explicitly there, right? But if you look through our files here, we actually do have an index.html file over here. Okay, you'll see it in the public folder. And if you look at the index.html file in our public folder, you're going to see that it is an HTML file, of course. So we are bringing in HTML. We just don't use it. We just don't use it when we're building out our React because we don't have to. We already set up our code in such a way that we connect to our HTML, but then we build through it with React. Now, if that's confusing for you, that's totally normal, but hopefully this is helping you at least a little bit to get a better idea of how these things are connected. So class name invokes CSS pages, which we don't actually see because we are grabbing it from Bootstrap. And where is Bootstrap? Well, Bootstrap is in our index.js file, right? So if we click on index.js, which you can find in our source folder, we're going to see Bootstrap dist CSS bootstrap.css. See, this .css is actually our CSS page with all of the class names that brings in this text center. So this text center is just not coming out of nowhere. This text center is coming from a Bootstrap CSS page, and that's what allows us to center the hello world.